The human brain is a vital organ which harvests the ability to keep organs functioning without us thinking and regulate our emotional responses. And in the adolescent period of our development, drug abuse can be its most damaging. Adolescent drug abuse can harm the human brain and set adulthood up for failure. And the significance of this is that adolescents are tomorrow's future. And with this, we have a study done in 2015 by Luke K. on the effects of methamphetamine. And in this study, it states that young drug abuse affects brain matter and brain receptors as well. Adolescent drug abuse causes damage to those receptors in our brain. And one of these receptors that is responsible for our emotional regulation would be called dopamine. Dopamine is extremely important for it helps regulate our emotions in our everyday life, and that's a pretty simple task that we need to do just to keep things in check. This study also goes over that adolescent time is the most crucial period of brain development. That methamphetamine exposure during the adolescent period may cause crucial derailment from the normal trajectory of white matter myelination. And this white matter is responsible for information retention in our brains. Also, white matter aids in the processing of new information, and without that ability, it would be really difficult to obtain that information and to do day-to-day activities, which usually is in the use of retaining new information. In addition to these findings, we are also provided an explanation for severe behavioral complications and relapses that are common in adolescent onset drug addiction. This means that early drug abuse can cause behavioral issues and the inability to just stay sober. Drugs in general are very addictive, but meth is known to be the most addictive and destructive drug right now. And since drugs are composed of different chemicals in which once they enter the body, they create different reactions, this affects our brain receptors that are also using natural chemicals in our body. This causes a collision because of the natural chemicals in our body. They could be thrown off in their variety because of these reactions and imbalances that these drugs do. The drug methamphetamine is highly addictive stimulant, and adolescents who use methamphetamine from a young age have a higher likelihood to become addicted and carry that addiction into their adulthood. With that, the chronic use of methamphetamine may produce a persistent neurological damage, meaning that this damage could be also permanent and irreversible, making this a serious health risk to one of our most important organs, our brain. Along with other side effects, methamphetamine can also cause the ability to cause an effect to make rational decisions. For when a user is high on methamphetamine, they are unable to think reasonably and given to what they crave. This means that when a user lacks the ability to make reasonable decisions, it is due to that brain damage to those chemical receptors in our brain. These brain regions whose function are associated with inhibitory control and preference for delayed gratification. The ability to control the craving for instant gratification builds discipline for more valuable type of gratification, such as delayed gratification. And delayed gratification is the ability to control one's craving and have patience for gratification in the future. This means that exposure in adolescence changes these brain regions, and that adolescents may have a greater risk for relapse and intractable meth addiction compared with adults who start their addiction. As a society, I believe that there needs to be more active knowledge to teach and warn adolescents of this long-term effects on meth use. And since they're making these decisions pretty early in their life, I feel like they should be given credible knowledge, not just knowledge given to them by medium. And with this, I feel like it could have long-lasting effects, for they know the actual in-depth devastating effects that it could do to something so important, such as their brain. The significances of this is that adolescents are the future of the world. They are our future doctors, our future politicians, and teachers in our society. And although ignorance is bliss, knowledge is power.